Hello, everyone. Aloha, half a day, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, salutations, all of the things that people say to each other when they're happy to see them once again. Thank you for tuning in to the Words from the Wise podcast. Thank you for watching us on YouTube or just any of the places you might get access to the show. We're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify, we're on Amazon, just all kinds of places where you can hopefully tune in, listen to the episodes, and hopefully you find some value in the conversations that we're having. This episode is a second part of our series that we started with Miss Teri Leishman. If you remember, we met Teri in the last episode, and without further ado, I'll just bring her back onto the show. Then we'll talk about it while she's here. So, hey there, Teri, how you doing?
Hi, good afternoon. I'm doing great. Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, glad to have you. Thank you for being back on the show. I was going to kind of recap a little bit. So the end of the last episode, you had decided to go to college, right? You were a young spry right around the age of 50 years old, and you went to college and did great, right? You went there and had an amazing experience, top of your class, all of these good accolades, finished your education, and actually walked out of there with a job opportunity moving to Grand Junction, Colorado, which just so happened to be near your sister, correct?
Correct. Right. And it was an awesome experience to be around all the young youth, and they were so enthusiastic. And I've continued to maintain friendships with a lot of them and watch them have their families, and we're friends on Facebook. And so it's really turned into some long-term uh, relationships, which has been really a bonus for me.
That is a bonus for you. So, and I think back on your story, you were telling me about the community you had at the hair school, right? That you were going to there, the cosmetology school when you were in
Mhm.
high school, and how important they were for you in your teenage years. And then I think about the community you developed in Garden Valley in Idaho, and how that was important for you as you went through some tough times. And then I think about glad you made friends with people during medical school or nursing school that can help you come through that phase of your life. And when you got to Grand Junction, yeah, and I know you had your sister there, but did you find the same community there that you were looking for? Were you looking for a new community in Grand Junction once you got there?
Well, I did. I wanted to make some friends, and so I joined a group. It was called Meetup, and I love to be outside. I love to hike. I love to be out in out in the mountains, and I like to ski and kind of do all that stuff. And so I wanted to meet some kind of like-minded people, and so I joined this Meetup group that is an umbrella organization that has a lot of different clubs underneath it, and that worked out really well for me. And then I was also, I went to the gym and I met some really great people there at the gym, and we've continued to be friends from that time too. So I did meet some really good friends and developed a good community there as well.
Okay, so now you're in this space in your life where you graduated nursing school. You're currently working at a very big hospital in Grand Junction. You're single, right? You no longer are in a relationship with other people, and I can't help but wonder, looking back on your life. You had a child early on as a teenager. Did you ever? You said yesterday that you found out more information possibly about that child, and what was that like for you looking back on your life? Did you ever try to reconnect with that child, or what was that like for you? Because we never really talked about that. But did you ever have that conversation with any of your husbands, or how was that?
Oh yeah, everyone who knew me knew that I'd had this child. So it wasn't anything that I really kept a secret. You know, all my husbands knew about it. They all knew that I had been searching for him. And it was a time, when I gave him up for adoption, I was very much aware that it was a closed adoption, that I was giving up my rights to be the mother. And so they made that very clear. Now, this was through my church, it was through my religious organization. And so I kind of felt like, I wanted him, even though I wasn't necessarily active in the church, I wanted that for him. I felt like it gave me a good foundation. I wanted his parents to be young. I wanted him to be the firstborn because that's what he would have been in my life, right? And so and then as time went by, so that was in the late 70s, that was in 77. And then as time went by, things kind of started to change. And so when I was in Southern California during that time, this would have been in the early 80s, one of my customers there. She and I were talking, and I was telling her my experience, and she was also from Utah, so we had a little bit of a connection there, even though we were in California. So we had this kind of this LDS connection. And she told me that her daughter had just given her baby up for adoption through the church, and that she had access to all kinds of different information than what I could have gotten. Like she was getting pictures, and she was getting, I think she might have even had some visitation rights, if I remember right. And so she gave me her social worker's name. I have it written down somewhere. Her name is Susan something. Mrs. Jacobson was my social worker, and her social worker's name was Susan, and she was a young woman. And so I reached out to her, and she was able to go back into to the baby's family and kind of give me some more information. So my biggest fear, so what was happening at that time for me was I was not getting pregnant. And people would say to me, "Oh, have a baby or adopt a baby. You'll have one of your own." It happens all the time. Once you just adopt a baby, then you'll have your own. And so all of a sudden I'm thinking, gosh, I wonder if that happened to him, because I selected a young family. Did they adopt him and then have their own? And now do they not love him as much as they love their own? You know?
Right.
I'm going to be loved as much as I could have loved him.
Right.
So this is my biggest fear through kind of my whole life. And so she was able to go in, and she found out that he had been born with a clubbed foot. The clubbed foot had straightened out, had gotten itself straightened out. He was meeting all the milestones, like he was crawling at a certain point, he was walking at a certain point. So he was developing, meeting all the milestones he was supposed to meet. That the mother was short and she was blonde, like I was short, I was blonde. So that made me happy. And they had also put in for another baby. So I knew that he was going to have a sibling. And she the mother had had some kind of cancer or something to where she'd had to have a hysterectomy, so they wouldn't be able to have children of their own. And so that brought me a lot of comfort, knowing that, that brought me a lot of comfort. And then through the years, as the years went by, so that would have been like in the 80s. And I never really wanted to disrupt his life. I wanted him to be steady. I wanted him to be secure. I didn't want to cause any confusion. I would have loved to have had some pictures, and things like that as time went by, but that wasn't part of our, kind of our agreement. And then, the computer kind of came out. So that would have been in the late 80s, maybe the early 90s. I think I had my first computer when I got to Idaho, which would have been the first part of the 1990s. And I started looking at adoption reconnection websites. There was all these different websites that you could get on, and you could see if people were searching for you. And I was certainly open for him to find me, but I didn't necessarily want to disrupt him. So I wanted to make sure my information was out there in case he wanted to look for me. And so I put my name and my birthday and his information that I knew about him. I didn't know much, but I put what I had. I put it out there, put my siblings' names. And then, periodically I would write a post, every time I would think about it. Not every time. I thought about him all the time, but, periodically, like on birthdays and stuff, I would make a post to say, just kind of thinking about you. And I had written letters early on. They had allowed me to write letters and to kind of put that into his file, but that kind of stopped. I never knew. I never got a reply. I never knew if he was getting them. I felt like it was kind of futile. So I stopped with that. But I did try to reach out, periodically, throughout my whole life. I had tried some.
Yeah. What's so interesting about this part of the story, at least for me anyway, is, if y'all haven't figured this out yet, I happen to be the son of Teri Leishman, right? She is my mother. If you watch the previous few videos back, and I talked about finding my biological mother, it is Teri. So if you can tell, we look a lot alike, right? And I remember the night that I first found you. So what's funny is when I came back from Japan, I went to Japan in 1997, and I went there on my 20th birthday. Right. I literally landed in Japan on my 20th birthday. And that was a significant day for me because you could drink alcohol in Japan on your 20th birthday. Like 20 years old was a day. Right. And so I was just like, what an interesting, place. Well, I came back from Japan, a couple of years later, right around my birthday again. And I started using the internet to look for possibly you, right? To look for you or anybody out there that might have answers to the story of who I was. And just so you know, and for everyone listening, right? Because we're going to talk a little bit about our story and how we've been working together going forward. But just so everyone understands, from my life growing up, um, I always knew I was adopted. That was never a secret, even though it's complicated for anyone. I think who's and Terry, you're adopted, so you can relate, right? It's a unique perspective to be the adoptee, right? I think it's kind of insular. It's almost it could be lonely, I guess you could say, right? If you're not like you and your family, Terry, you have other siblings, but you have this one thing that makes you unique and that you were adopted and they were not, right? And so
Mhm. There's
whether
only
they
one
want
me.
you to yeah, whether they want you to feel that way or not, they can't
Mhm.
control it, right?
Right.
Like I
Right.
remember growing up and everybody was always recanting to me my adoption story. And for them, the adoption story began with when they picked me up, right from the hospital or from wherever they got me from. It wasn't with the day that I was born, right? And so there's this delta of when I was born and then till I went with them, which of course, I was in the hospital, NICU, clubbed leg thing, which I had no freaking clue about until we met, right? A few different things. And so, but I always knew that I was adopted. That was always in the conversation. And like you learned, they adopted my little sister. And it was a unifying thing for the two of us. We shared that camaraderie of being adopted, right? And we used to I'm telling you, me and my sister would literally have conversations like, what if it's the same mom? Because the ages of the mothers were about the same. But the difference was my sister, I think she had some ethnicities in her that was not, what I had. Right. My parents had way more information about my sister's biological family than they had about you for me. Right. And then the other thing I would say is if you were sending information to a social services agency to give me something or whatever it was, I'm pretty sure I would have gotten that when my parents passed away, right? They would have kept something like that, or they would have, but there was nothing. So I don't know where that stuff went to. I don't know how that played out. That'd be interesting information to have, though, right? I would probably really treasure those letters, right, from you. But so what's funny is I came back from Japan and I start using the internet with the blessing of my parents, right? Like I talked to them, and just so you all know, like it's complicated. At least it is, but it isn't. I have multiple different layers of parents in my life, right? Like I've got my mom, my dad, I've got Terry, who I love more more than a mother. I think at this point in my life, right? Like a mother is good. I don't even know how to say how much I love you. I mean, you're my mom for sure, but you're also a great friend, right? You're a great ally. There's all these different layers to it, if that makes sense. But we also don't have the years of like drama that could have come along with being living together since childbirth. Does that make sense? Like when you look at, I'd say like with my mom and I, we had a lot of challenges because of my teenage years or my childhood years that you and I don't have that. So
Right.
that's kind of a blessing, right? It's kind of
Right.
now, of course,
Right.
we bring all of our own stuff to the conversation, but as adults, we get the chance to just choose one another and get to be a team and get to be a family, right? And
Right.
then we have the benefit of being biologically connected as well. So but I remember talking to my parents about, hey, I'm going to start using this computer thing to look, and they were okay with that. They had no problem with that. But I was also, I mean, I'd been out of their house off and on for about 7, 8 years by that point, and so then I used the computer, and I found nothing, right? Nothing ever, like ever. And I remember thinking like, how okay, maybe there's just no one out there looking for me. And I was using specific searches, like adopted boy, this day, this hospital, all these things, and there would never be nothing. So then fast forward to 2014. So you were putting on these posts whenever you put them out there, right?
All through the 90s, probably all through, yeah. I don't know how many, maybe 10,
Right. Well, what's
maybe
funny is
a
I
dozen.
eventually
Maybe a dozen. I had also reached out to a lady that I had found maybe on one of the reconnection websites, and she had provided me a list of boys that had been adopted from Utah in 1977.
Yeah.
I would love to find that list. I have torn my boxes apart looking for it. I don't think I would have thrown it out, but I called several of
Yeah.
them. They're like, oh
Yeah.
no, I've already found my parent. And so
Oh,
I was going that route too. So
that's interesting. And it was I remember when I first started searching and I was young and I was single, right? And there was just this question, right? I wanted to know the answer to it as a question. And then as I gained my family and like I met Erica, that the question got to be not maybe as in like as loud. And then I remember when Hayden was born, he's my oldest son for everyone listening. I remember going through a space of like, this is the only person in the world that's my blood, right? And that was really like an epiphany for me. Like I never really had allowed myself even to think about that concept too much. But when Hayden was born, I was like, this is the only human being in this world that's like my genetics, like my DNA, my blood. And so that was a big deal. And then I remember, so in 2014, this is when I find how we finally found one another for everyone listening. If you didn't watch a previous video, and I'll make sure I link it in the description if you want to watch that video. But 2014, it's June. My wife Erica is seriously pregnant with my younger, soon to be born son, right? Like, due to have that child any day. She's in bed already. It's like midnight and I'm up playing a video game because Erica liked to go to bed before me because she just had she'd wake up if she wasn't already sound asleep. And so I was giving her space and time. And I did something I had done so many other times before. I put down the video game controller. I picked up my iPad. I forgot. I had recently done two things. About 2 months previously, I had reached out to an adoption like private investigator. And I had given them like I entered information into their website and said I would like to be contacted about doing a private investigation into my adoption. So that was one thing that I had done, right? And then for Father's Day that June, right? So this is happening like June 28th, 27th, 28th that this is happening. Well, on Father's Day, which is like what, June 9th, 13th, around that time frame, Erica had bought me a DNA test for my Father's Day present. I had gotten her one for Mother's Day, and I was always interested in my DNA and like my markers and where would I be from in the world of Europe or wherever. Right? I was curious. And I remember that when she got the DNA test, she was like, now, we might find some things out about your biological family. Are you sure that you want to do that? And I was like, we get to choose how we control our life, right? At the end of the day, we get to choose, but we had done that test, right? And so now here I am a couple weeks later, June 26th, 27th, whatever it is. And middle of the night, I type into my search engine the same thing I'd typed in so many other times before, right? Like adoption, boy, my birthday, even the hospital. I've done this and I hit enter. And for the first time ever, I get a hit and it's a post that says baby boy Leishman, right? Now, do you remember that post?
uh, not I don't know if it was the first one. I don't know if it was the 30th one. I don't know. They were
It
all kind of
wasn't
the
the
same.
first
They were
one.
all
It was not the first one.
yeah.
It was a post that was like on my 19th birthday. It was like my 18th or 19th birthday, right? And I remember but it was like on my 18th or 19th birthday. And I remember thinking, like, this is a post from before I even went to Japan, right? I remember thinking that, like, how have I never found this post before? This is a post. And what I thought was unique was in the post, you were talking about the birth story. Like you were saying specific things about the birth, right? You were a baby boy that weighed through like 3 pounds. You had premature, all these things. I hope you're doing okay. Hope you're fine out there. All these things, right? And it wasn't a very long post, but it was very specific. And for a person who knew my birth story, And mind you, I had no idea about the clubbed foot thing at that point in time. But I knew that I was a premature baby. I knew I was born to a teenage mother, and I knew I was a 3-pound baby, right? I knew I was like, and it was like I was a NICU. Like I knew I came into this world fighting to be alive, right? Like
Mhm.
just I was
And
a
and the
little
name
thing.
and the name of the I always put the name of the hospital.
And I always knew the name of the
Mhm.
hospital, right? I've
Mhm.
known that from I've known that for as long as I can remember, right? My parents always told me McKay Hospital, right? I
Yeah.
always knew the hospital name, but I had never gotten hit before. So I remember then what I do is I read this thing and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is pretty specific. Well, I was able to click on your name and then see all your posts, right? So now
Wow.
I see all these posts that you'd been posting for all those years. And I was like, how have none of these posts ever popped up? Like, I remember thinking, like, I never found anything, right? Maybe there's nothing out there. So then I find your posts, I see all these posts, and I'm reading through them. And I'm like, well, it's how many other babies were born on this day in this hospital that weighed 3 pounds, right? Like, I don't know. Right. And so I remember thinking that, so then what I did was I had your name, right? And you did Teri Lee Leishman. That was your name, right? That's your name. And I remember I took that and I put over into another search engine to see if I could find anything on you. And sure enough, I found the account you had made on that meetup site, and there was a picture of you, right? And when I saw that picture of you, it was a wrap. I knew I was like, oh my God, that's I just found this. I found her. Like,
Now, there's a,
because
there's a funny story about that picture. Okay. So
let's
that
hear it.
picture, I never wanted to have my picture on Facebook or on Google. So, I never, I was kind of, so I did what, I sat down again and I punched in my information like I always do to look to see if there's anything, on there from baby boy Leishman or on the birthday or anything like that. And up pops my picture. And I could not figure out how to get it off of there. I didn't want it
Yeah.
on there. And this was just
Yeah.
weeks. This was just weeks before you. I mean, it wasn't long. It was just weeks. And so, what's so funny is, God is good every day. He
Oh
wouldn't
man.
let me figure out how to get it off of there.
Yeah.
So,
No,
yeah.
this is all in God's timing. Like it
Oh,
is,
yeah.
like you said early, the last time we spoke, you had these moments in your life where you can really look at the hand of God on your life. And I had those same moments, and I am currently working my way through sharing them with people because I think it's therapeutic and I think it helps for us to remember the things that we went through and when God was really giving us grace, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then also hopefully sharing that story with the world. And this is definitely, you know, one of my top three stories because
Yeah.
what's crazy is again how many times I can't even tell you how many times I've looked for some sort of information about finding my biological family, and then out of nowhere, like within minutes, like literally from within the minutes of me typing in that first Google entry to finding that baby boy Leishman post to reviewing some of the posts you'd made to Googling your name to seeing that picture and just being like, well, there you go. Right. And I remember I went and woke Erica up and she was like, what? Why are you waking me up right now? What's going on? I'm asleep. And I was like, babe, I found her. And then, of course, unfortunately for her, we were having a baby like any minute, right? Like, what are you doing? But again, it's a lonely thing, right? Like, I'm looking for people in my life. I'm looking for this answer to a question that not everyone else has that question, right? Not everybody else is worried about it. And I wasn't like losing sleep about it. I had done this so many other times and found nothing
Yeah.
that I was fully prepared to find nothing again. And then this time God gives me everything, right? And so I remember then what I did. So I talked to Erica, she goes back to bed, and I'm just like, okay, well, I didn't just find all this information out for nothing. So what I did was first thing I did was I joined that meetup group with like a dummy name, right? Just the most basic information I could put into it. And I wrote you a message, basically just said, hey, you know, I think you and I might want to talk, right? I was basically told you my birth story, and that I was adopted. I think I gave you access, like I gave you my information on social media so
I
you
can
can
tell
see
you
me.
exactly what I've got. I can tell you exactly what your first email was. I've got it right here.
All right,
So
go
your
for
first
it. Let's go
email.
ahead.
Okay, so I'm
Let's hear it.
home. I'm home. It's a Friday night. I've been at my brand new job in Grand Junction. I'm living in this little apartment. It's not a little, it's like a little duplex. It's about 300 square feet. Just a tiny little thing. I'm just started this new job. I mean, I'm just getting myself situated. I hadn't
Right.
been there a month, I don't think. And the timing could not have been better. I mean, in all, really, if you think about where I had been before I went back to college, and in that relationship that was so controlling, that if
Right.
you had come into my life when I was there, it would have been it would have been it would have been it would have not been as pleasant as a thing. It would have been really, it would have been very, very difficult for me. I would
Right.
have certainly made the decision to be, part of your life. That was a given, but it would have made it much more difficult. So the
Right.
timing could not have been better. So I'm sitting there at Friday night, my feet up. I get my computer, and my computer's been down all day. I can't get logged into my computer. It's giving me problems. So I've got it, or my phone, I guess, was giving me problems. So somebody said, well, plug it into your computer when you get home and see if you can get your phone straightened out. So I plugged it in, and I open up my email, and I get this email, and it says, looking for a Teri Lee Leishman. I'm currently searching for a Teri Lee Leishman that may have lived in Clearfield, Utah in July of 1977. If it's not you, I apologize. And maybe you might be able to assist me in my search. That was it. Okay. And
Okay.
my world just come unraveled.
So that was all I put in that
That
first
was all
email.
you said. That was all you said. Looking for a Teri Lee Leishman. Might have lived in Clearfield in July of 1977. No birth date, just July of
Okay.
1977. If this is you, if this isn't you, I apologize. But if it is you, I mean, maybe you can help me in my search if it's not you. And there was a little picture of you and Erica up in the corner. And it took me 4 hours. Okay, 4 hours to write because I'm going, oh my God, maybe he just wants his health information. Oh my God, maybe he maybe he needs a kidney transplant. I mean, I had no idea. I had no idea. I didn't want to be too aggressive. I didn't want to be too needy. I didn't want to be
Right.
too excited because maybe you just wanted your health history, right? I mean, maybe you didn't really want anything from me. Maybe you just had the stuff that you wanted to know. So it took me 4 hours to write, I am indeed the Teri Lee Leishman you were searching for. I lived in Clearfield on July 18th, 1977. So I put your birthday in there, okay?
Yeah.
Are you him? I've looked
Yeah.
for you for a very long time. Is it you, Gary Wise? Oh, how I've longed to know your name, to hear your voice, and to see your sweet, sweet smile. Perhaps I'm jumping to conclusions and I simply have information you desire. I'm happy to help your search in any way I can. Right. So that was how I responded. And that was how we started. And then we were off and running after that. I called my mom. I was bawling,
Yeah.
I still cry at the drop of a hat over it. So, but I called her and, I was talking to her, and we thought about Mrs. Erickson and kind of relived the whole thing with her and all my excitement and how excited I was, and I was afraid to get too excited. And so anyhow, I sent that email back off to you, and I think you got it the next morning because I was in Colorado. You were in Virginia, so you were on the East Coast.
Yep, we was in Virginia Beach. We were on shore duty. We'd just come back from Japan, right? Which was another good news story because if I had figured this out and I was in Japan, it wouldn't have been nearly as I'd say time wise easily. Plus the workload I was under over in Japan was not the same. And I was at the time, I was doing a lot of college classes late at night. But I remember, so I got the email from you responding. I immediately reached out to my parents and made sure they were okay for me to go ahead and reply back to that email, and they were. I don't remember if you put anything about a clubbed foot in that email or not, but that was one of the things of information you gave to me through one of our first emails was you told me about the clubbed foot thing. And I remember I asked my mom and dad, because I had asked you, like, did you have any other information about me? And you were just like, I don't really have a lot more to give you, right? Like at the end of the day, you had a clubbed foot, you were little. And I remember I asked my dad, I was like, hey, Dad, was there a problem with my foot when I was born? And of course, they didn't get me right away. So the doctors might have already kind of worked through the foot problem mainly before I went to my adopted family. Cause I think I went to them in September and I think I was born in July. Right. So I think I spent about a month at the hospital.
You were due September. You were due September 2nd. September 2nd was your due date.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. And my dad says, "Hey Nyla, what was wrong with Gary Leo's foot?" And she was like, "He had a club foot." And I was like, "Oh my god!" Right? Oh, you guys never told me that before. And they were just like, "Well, there you go." But I had already seen your picture, right? And I had already, when I saw your picture, I was just like, "Oh, there's just no denying that me and this woman are related."
Yeah.
Like this is because we do look so much alike, right? And so then what's funny? So it's a Saturday. We get on the phone for the first time on that Saturday. Like we're a few emails, bing, bang, bing, and then we're on the phone talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And have great conversation. And then that night, Erica and I go to the hospital, right? Yeah. Portsmouth Naval Hospital. And our son Lincoln is born that very next morning, which is a Sunday morning. And I was texting you as I was texting everybody else, right? Keeping you in the loop, and just a real powerful couple of hours, right? Just a real powerful, everything changed a lot in that 24-hour period of time, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. I remember thinking, and of course, at first, there's always going to be, fear. Like we don't really know that much about each other right off the bat. It was exciting and there was a lot of questions for sure. And then of course, with the birth of the baby, there was just a lot going on there. Right. But I just remember being very optimistic that Lincoln was never going to know a day without having a you in his life. Right. And then Hayden, of course, he was pretty young. So even he is hard pressed to remember a day without you being in his life. Right. It's just, and so it was all good things. And then after we met and after Lincoln was born, what was that like for you that first week or two after we met? What do you remember? Do you remember what was that like for you?
Oh, it was wonderful. It was so wonderful. I mean, I'm telling everybody in the world. Every time I tell somebody, I'd cry. I'm at work. I'm telling everybody at work. I'm talking to my mom and dad. And now my mom, her husband at that time was dying. It was in the process of dying. So she was really kind of strapped there too, but she was so excited. And then my dad, it was the first time I ever saw my dad. It was the only time I ever saw my dad cry. It was the only time I ever saw my dad cry, when I told him that you had found me. And of course my siblings, I was sending them all the pictures. He looks just like you, sis, and it was just nothing but a miracle. It was just nothing short of a miracle.
Yeah, your siblings, it's interesting because I had messaged all of them as well the same night that I had messaged you on that app, because like you said, you'd put their information out and I'd found them on social media. But you had got back to me faster through the message you had got through that app. But I'm not afraid to go out and ask for questions, right? I've never have been. Mm-hmm. That's one of my things. I've always been able to raise my hand and say, I got a question, kind of how you were in that college class, right? Yeah. Like I've never been afraid, even though people have said, well, Gary, you're asking that question, you're going to make yourself look dumb. Well, I don't believe that personally, right? And if you're a person who's worried about I'm going to look dumb or not, then I don't really care probably what you think, right? Like you and I are probably not meant to get along.
I'm cut from the same cloth, yeah.
Yeah. So, especially when it's something like this level of extreme where it could actually unravel, like it could solve the storyline of my life. Because the other thing was, and I don't know if you did this or not about your biological mother, for me, for my biological parentage period, I was always like reshaping that storyline in my head, right? And it wasn't always a healthy storyline. I'm not gonna lie to you, right? I always had this idea that I got brought into the world underweight, underprivileged, under pushed in a position, and I had to always be a fighter, right? Like I had built this storyline, and now my storyline is like I'm blessed, I'm highly favored, right? Like I have been able to kind of adjust that storyline, right? A lot. But I it was it was a primary source of my I would say energy up till that point. So finding out the truths was a little scary because what if it would cause me to lose my identity? What if it would cause me how much I don't know if you thought about this, but I remember thinking like, how much is this going to affect me as a person when my identity was so shaped with here's my mom, here's my dad, and this is my story. I'm this adopted kid, and
Mhm.
away it all went, right? But I was super, super, super hopeful that it was all going to go great, right? And I remember uh, we were very, we were concerned though, Erica and I, because we had a brand new baby,
Right.
and then we had Hayden, right? And as much as I love my family, that wasn't always good there, right? And so we understood that having family could sometimes introduce problems, right? Which was, for me and my little sister had a very tough relationship. Me and my mom had a tough relationship. And I think Erica, she always says I'm great at making friends, right? She always, you're so good at making friends, Gary. And so she was worried that there was going to cause contention. I think that's what her fear
Well,
was.
and rightfully
And,
so. I get that.
yeah.
You didn't
And
know
that,
me. I could have been living under a bridge somewhere, or you really didn't know anything about me.
and that was but I felt like I was super optimistic for it, right? And then I remember it felt like almost every day, or we were often in the evening getting on a phone call, like a video call. Do you remember that?
Mhm. Oh yeah, yep,
Yeah.
yep. I could,
Because
yeah,
I
I do. I
remember,
remember getting on Skype with you, and meeting you seeing you for the first time. I remember spending a lot of time with Hayden, trying to get with Hayden. And I remember with him, we were talking about the color of your eyes, the color of our eyes. And I said, "Well, what color are my eyes?" And I put my eyeball right up on the camera. He says, "Your eyes are the same color as my daddy's." And I was like,
yeah.
"Wow, there we go. Okay." He's going to start to connect the dots,
Yeah. Well,
There
and
was a
their
lot.
eyes are all brown, right?
Yeah,
They've all got brown eyes,
yeah.
you know. And yeah, it was just I was doing my college thing at that time, doing my master's degree, and I remember just I was doing a lot of late night schoolwork, but then I would take that time instead and jump on a call with you, and we would be talking. And Eric, I think that was another place that we had to adjust in our life, as Erica had to get used to having other women in my life because that was not really a thing, right? Previously to that, there was just my family. I wasn't talking to my mom or my sister or anybody at that point in time. Now, you came out to visit us right after Lincoln was born. You came out that September, right, for your
In
birthday.
September, I had already actually scheduled the time off of work because it was over my birthday. And so I
Yeah.
thought, well, I'll take, I'd never had paid time off before. That was something new for me because I had always been self-employed before that. And so,
Yeah.
I've got this PTO. This is phenomenal. So I had scheduled a week, I think, off around my birthday, which is the first part of September. And so I had already scheduled that time off. And so I said, well, I would love to come out, and meet you guys then at that time. And we were kind of ready for that. But you were very, very smart in saying, let's get you a hotel. Let's give you, a place kind of separate from us because there's going to be a lot of emotions going on here. It's going to be
Yeah.
a lot of stuff going on. And so we were able to kind of come together and meet. I was able to meet you, and I brought all my these tons of pictures and looked at all your
Yeah.
pictures, and we worked through it with Hayden. Hayden was such a smart little boy. He's like, well, where were you? I can remember him asking, well, where were you? Like, where have you been? And trying to
Yeah.
figure it out. I remember him saying, well, you're my daddy's mom. So he knew that, but trying to figure it out. And but he did a great job, and that had to have been really difficult for him. Looking back on that, how that must have been really hard for him to kind of sort through that, who I was and how I came about, and where had I
Well,
been?
it was it was tough for me too. I'm not gonna lie to you because, not just so much about Hayden, but like whenever we came back from overseas, like Erica and Hayden had come back from Japan a few times in the years previous to us meeting, right? Because of like earthquake in Japan or there were challenges, and they went and stayed with Erica's family. right? And so Hayden had a really good relationship with Erica's mom and dad, right? Like he really knew them. Like he knew if you said grandma and grandpa, he was just thinking about the Vasquezes, right?
Right.
Because if he when he had met my parents from Utah, it had been for brief couple of day visits, and it was during when he was first born, and then again before we went to Japan. And then we went to Japan, and he was there 3, 4, 5, right? And then we moved, and so during that 3, 4, 5, he only came back to Florida and saw Grandma and Grandpa Vasquez. And then we went to Virginia Beach. And when my parents came to Virginia Beach one time, and this is before you and I had reconnected, right? Because this was before Lincoln was born, I think, or somewhere. Do you remember my parents coming to Virginia Beach after we had met?
No, that was before.
Okay,
And
so it
I
was
remember
before.
it was over Christmas. I remember seeing the
Yeah,
pictures. And it was over
yeah,
Christmas.
yeah. So Hayden that entire time he was trying to connect the dots again, like who are these people in my
Yeah,
house,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Right. And because he really didn't remember, and so he was trying to process that, and then we introduced you to the conversation, so yeah, it kind of threw him for a
another
loop,
one. Yeah,
like, well, how does this work, right?
yeah.
And to this day, we were driving down the street the other day, like literally not even 2 weeks ago, and we were having to explain to Lincoln again how this whole thing played out because he had no clue. He was like, "What are you talking about? Grandma Terry is Dad's mom." Like,
Yeah.
because and you have to remember, like they might have gotten into the same room with my parents. Lincoln might have gotten into the same room with them, twice.
Yeah.
And I remember him, we went out like not very many times. So there was not a lot of good memories there. And I was struggling with that part of it because I really wanted you to be a major, as much as you wanted to be. I remember that was always one of my energies going into this was we have no expectation. You can be as much of a part of this as you would like to be or not. And we'll be okay either way. But I didn't want to be too assuming or pushy, right? Or get hurt or whatever it was, because I was worried about the boys being involved. I was worried about myself. I was worried about you, right? And so
Mhm.
I remember that. And you were just like, no, I want to be as much in as you'll let me be. Right? Like,
Right. And
yeah.
I remember how much that meant to me when you said there's certainly room in their life for you.
Oh, yeah,
There's
for
certainly room in our
sure.
life for you. However much you want, that just meant so much to me. And I'll
And,
add
and
too for the people listening that might not know that you've lost both of your parents. Both of your adopted parents have passed away in the last 2 or 3 years. And so, that's another reason why Lincoln didn't see your parents a lot when he was young, you know.
Well, and my wife and I did 25 years in the Navy. We made the choice to go back overseas, right? We chose, Erica and I we were very conscientious that we were going to make the decisions for our family, not so much for our extended family, right? We were not
Right,
going to give up opportunities at life just because people wanted to live closer to us or whatever it was. And my parents understood that. They did. They understood that. They supported that, but it was just not always advantageous for us to go see them, nor could they always afford to come see them. But for you, you always made it a priority because, I mean, of course, we became very quickly a big part of your life,
right.
right? Like
Right.
after we found you, I mean, it was, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it was like you were working and it was us. And there, that was, those were your priority.
That's exactly right. And I remember telling you, I've looked for you for a long time. I'll follow you to the moon. I don't care where you go. When you went to Japan, I came to Japan to see you.
You
When you
did.
went to Guam, I came to Guam to see you. It's just
Well,
too much. It's just too important for me to have you in my life, and the boys, and Erica, all of you.
Well, and I'll tell you, that's such an answer to my prayers because I always wanted them to have access to a grandmother like that. And again, they've gotten the relationship with the Vasquez side. So I know my parents loved them, but they also were busy with their other challenges they had in life, and they had their financial concerns or whatever it was. But
Mhm.
they were very happy that we had all reconnected. And I remember you spoke to my parents
Mhm. I did.
relatively quickly,
I
right?
did. Within just what I think maybe that next day. I think maybe
Yeah.
that next day we reached out and I spoke with them and kind of connected with them, and that meant a lot to me too. That they were so open, to welcome me into their family, and
Yeah.
I met all your
Well,
aunts, and I met all of
yeah.
your aunts and your grandma, and I met your whole family, and so I became part of your family. It
Yeah,
wasn't
they
just
were all super my family was all super excited about it, right? They were all very happy for me, very happy for us. And they were all nobody ever gave me any bad energy, any bad feelings about me, figuring this thing out. And I really appreciated that support from them because I did struggle with, am I being disloyal or am I being,
right.
am I not valuing their the sacrifices my parents took on to raise me? But everybody seemed to be okay, right?
Yeah,
Everyone seemed to be doing pretty good. And then, of course, we also ended up having a relationship that I mean, we're such good friends and we're so close in life that I was worried that was going to cause friction, but if it did, we didn't know about it. And then, like you said, I went back overseas again after that next 2 years. And by the time I came back from overseas, both my parents had unfortunately passed away. And you were able to be there with me through both of those things. You were there with me when my mom passed away. You're there with me when my dad passed away. And just able to, when Erica got really sick one time and we were in Hawaii, you flew out to Hawaii to help take care of her. And you were a nurse, right? And what's
hmm
funny about the whole nursing thing is my dad was a nurse, right? And so that was a connection. My dad was a nurse. You were living in the place that I had spent my summers growing up in, and you ended up living not even 20 minutes from my
right.
grandparents' house on my mom's side, right? But like I was able to show you how to get from your house to where I had spent my summers growing up as a child. You and my dad share the same middle name. I thought that was interesting. The other thing that I thought was interesting is, you're Terry and I'm Gary,
Uh huh.
right? But then you had so for everyone that might be interested, Terry also saw the DNA results of her own adoption story, and she kind of already had a heads up with she knew like names or whatnot. But then she reconnected with her biological siblings, and they also have names that have that airy sound, right?
Sherry
Not
and
sure.
Jerry, and they're half
Yes.
sisters. They're half sisters. We have the same mother, different father, you know, but we've
But I
reconnected.
think it's interesting is the naming thing, right?
Hmm.
Terry, Jerry, Sherry, and I'm Gary. Right? I
Right.
thought that was
Yeah.
it. I thought that was interesting. I'm just putting all these dots. I'm connecting all these dots. I'm like, oh my goodness, what a, and so then going back to the weekend that Lincoln was born and that we had first met, right?
Mhm.
So I
Right.
left the hospital after Lincoln was born and I went to my work to go on baby leave, right? And in my email inbox was the DNA results from the DNA test I had taken earlier that month. So I had just met you like on a Friday night, or I found you on a Friday night, spoke to you on a Saturday. Son was born on Sunday. I'm going on leave on Monday, and the first cousin is a Leishman, right? And I remember reaching out to you, like, do you know
Mhm.
this guy? And you're like, yeah, he's my cousin. And just what you couldn't have made that up, right? You
Yeah.
couldn't have made that up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I think the other thing is when I go down the storyline of finding the biological father, because hey, everyone, I did that too, right? We figured that part out,
Yeah.
and hey, that was we had a name or two to look at, and there was just some questions there we weren't quite sure, but I had done that DNA test at one of the times Terry was out visiting me. We were looking at the DNA results and she was like, "Well, that's the last name of one of the guy,
Yeah. There
right?"
were two. Yeah. There were two guys, and I just was never quite sure. There wasn't DNA. There wasn't paternity testing back then. I just was never quite sure. I knew who I had hoped it was,
Yeah,
but I really wasn't sure. And I thought, well, I wonder if I ever see him, if I'll know. And I really couldn't tell. They were both fair. They were both,
yeah,
like, light skinned, and I just wasn't sure. And that was the very first, that first night, Saturday night. I think it was when Lincoln was born. I wrote you the letter because I was always afraid to tell you, because what it makes me look like, oh my God, I'm
Right,
out
right, right.
sleeping around and all this kind of stuff. And that just wasn't the case. But I mean,
Right.
I finally learned by the time I was about 20 that I may as well not even try to get away with anything because I'm going to get caught. Okay. So anyhow, so I wrote a
Yeah.
whole thing about the birth father and the possibilities, and what that would look like. And so then you went off and you kind of searched for them both and you found them both, But because we weren't sure, you didn't want to, kind of expose your family to that,
Yeah.
your young kids and didn't really want to expose your family. So I came back out. So I was there over September was the first time. And I stayed in the little, not an apartment, but separate from the house, which was really nice for me to be able to go and have that. And then I came back at Christmas. So just a few months later, I came back. As soon as I got home, like, I want to come again. so I scheduled it for Christmas. And at that time, I stayed at the house. I stayed with you guys at Christmas. And we were sitting on the floor. I can still remember we were sitting on the floor looking at your DNA results. And I saw the name. And I said, that's enough for me. That's enough for me to know between the two who it was, and
Right.
And kind of told you a little bit about him and that, and then you reached out to him, so that was kind of interesting. I'll let you tell that story. So
Yeah. So so she says that's the guy's last name. And I said, interesting. I just kind of took that information in, didn't really do a whole lot with it. But then what the guy's last name did, that was really like his grandfather or great grandfather or whatever that was. And so I traced that information down directly to that gentleman. And I found his information back in Utah. And I found a phone number one day and I was just sitting in my schoolhouse at the time. I was at the Surface Warfare Officer School in Norfolk. I was a senior enlisted damage control instructor at the time. So I was just this guy, Master Chief with time in my hands, right? Idle hands, devil's playground thing. So I just called the number and the guy answered the phone. And I remember he answered the phone and I said, hey, is Jeff there? His name was Jeff Painter. I said, is Jeff Painter there? And he said, yeah, this is Jeff Painter. And I said, hey, Jeff, my name is Gary. I'm a Master Chief of the United States Navy. And I was a former recruiter, so I'm not bad on the phone. I can get people to listen to me long enough on the phone to get a question through, right? So I tell him, hey, Jeff, my name is Gary. I'm a Master Chief with the United States Navy. Do you have a quick moment for me to ask you a question? And he was like, sure, Gary. What can I do for you? And I said, hey, I was adopted at birth and I've been recently reconnected with my biological family. And I did my DNA results and it said that I might be connected to a gentleman named Seth Painter. And I was like, does that name happen to ring a bell to you? Do you happen to know who that is? And he was like, yeah, that's like my great grandpa or something like that. I was like, okay. Yes, it is actually. I know that to be true. I did that research. And I said, well, and I recently discovered that my biological mother is Teri Leishman. And I was just curious, Jeff, if you would have any ideas why you think I might be related to Seth Painter. And he was just like, what was your name again? And I said, my name is Gary Wise, and I just wanted you to know this. Gary, wow. And I was like, yeah, wow. And he's like, you said Teri Leishman? I said, I did say Teri Leishman. Do you know who that is? And he was like, I do know Teri. Wow. And I was like, oh yeah. I was like, look, I said, Jeff, I would want to know if it was me. And I'm just calling you. I said, man to man, I don't need anything from you. My career is good. My family is good. But I just wanted you to know that I'm out here in the world. And if you wanted to have a relationship, I would love to get to know you better. Right. And he was just like, oh, wow. Just, oh, wow. But then to his credit, right, by the end of that day, he was back on the phone with me with his two kids on the call, who were my half siblings, right? And then we all started talking and building a relationship. And what's interesting about that relationship is, so their their family was the family that owned the beauty school that you attended in high school,
Right.
right? So they all knew who you were, right? They all
Right.
knew Teri Leishman.
Right.
They all knew who you were, and they all had their own memories or recollections of that time period, whatever it may have been, right? But I remember uh, getting ready to come to Utah to meet them for the first time, and all I was going off of really was that Seth Painter and my DNA results, and
Mm-hmm.
Jeff remembering that you and him had a moment in time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was a little bit angsty about that, but I was going through with meeting everybody because I think we'd all just agreed like this is what it was. And the night before I go to get on the plane, I'm bringing my whole family to Utah. It's for Easter, and it's like 2015, probably
Mm-hmm.
2016, somewhere around there.
It was 2015.
And 2015. So Lincoln's
Mm-hmm.
a little one at that point. And I get another DNA result, right? The day before we go get on the plane. I get another, and I think the other thing for me, I was a little apprehensive because this family was fairly well to do in their area of the world. And again, I don't need anything, don't want anything. My life is grand. I just wanted to be, I just enjoy, I was enjoying the journey, right? I was enjoying the journey and reconnecting with people. And I get this DNA result, and it was just a random name. So I messaged the person like, "Hey, my name is Gary. Been recently reconnecting with my biological family, and you happen to be a first cousin. And I was just curious if any of these last names were a connection to you." And she was like, "Actually, hi Gary. I'm actually going to meet you tomorrow at Grandma Painter's house when you get to town." And she was literally a first cousin from the Painter family. So it was just like God said, "Here you go. If you just needed a little extra sense of stability that this is it," that was, and it was the way she went. And now when I look at my DNA test, I got all kinds of relatives on all sides of that family, right? I've got them all from their grandmother's side to their grandfather's side, all over the place. But that was my first Painter hit, was the day before I flew to Utah to meet the Painters in person. And
Mm-hmm.
you went with me to that meeting too, right?
I
You
was.
went
Yep. I
with,
went down. My sister still lives in that same town. So I
yeah,
went down and my mom was down there too. And so I went and met with all of them. And that was kind of stressful. I'm not going to lie, to be around all of them. And they were very gracious. They gave me a lot of
yeah.
grace. And your grandma Wise was there too. She came down, she was still alive. So she came down, your mom and dad, and then your half sister and half brother. I had not met them before, but I knew that he'd had kids. I had gone to see his mom because I kind of had, I kind of thought maybe I wanted her to know that there was a possibility, but I didn't know enough to say yes, right? I didn't know
Mm.
enough to say for sure. But I
And that was
didn't,
when you were pregnant, or that was after I was
this was, no,
born?
this was in the 80s. This would have been in the 80s.
Oh,
During
no
that year,
kidding.
that I moved back to Utah. I remember
Oh,
I went and sat with her for a little bit, and she told me what was happening with Jeff, and that he'd been divorced and that he had these two kids, and so I knew he had the kids, but I never said anything. I never said anything to her. I just chickened out. So,
mm.
and she might
Oh,
have
okay.
known that that was why I was there as well. In hindsight, she might have known that. Um, I don't think they were too awfully surprised, when they learned that, but I remember her saying, I think Jeff told me that she said to Clarence, "I told you, I told you," you know,
You
you
know what I
know.
thought was funny about that side of the family is that the grandfather and my grandfather had the same names, Clarence. Or I thought that was an interesting connection. But they were very accepting, right? Very welcoming. But I do think that DNA test really just helped solidify for everyone that
Yeah,
that was locked in. And
yeah,
so then, just for everyone listening, so we met, we all reconnected in 2014, right? And by
mhm,
2015, we were family. Erica and I, uh, of course, we chose to go back to Japan in 2016, and then we went to Guam in 2019, and then we retired to Ocala, Florida in 2022 to start our life post military. And then Teri, you were in Grand Junction. And what was your path after? Like, what did you know you were going to leave Grand Junction at some point, or you weren't quite sure?
Not particularly. I remember I bought a house as soon as I got there. If you remember the economy at the time, this when I moved there, it was 2014. I had just graduated with my bachelor's degree in 2013, December of 2013. Started the new job in February of 2014. Met you in June of 2014. But what I had recognized at that point, so I bought a house. So the real estate market was bad at that time. It had kind of crashed a little bit. And I knew that the market was not going to get much worse. If it was going to get worse, it was not going to get much worse. And I wanted to buy a house. I knew how important it was to buy a house, to catch it on the bottom end. And I didn't care what I bought. I just wanted to buy something. And now, if you remember right, when I first met you, I had purchased a house, but it hadn't closed yet. I was still living in that tiny little 350 square foot thing. But my house had closed. It closed in July. So it was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It was a cute little house, but it wasn't really my style or anything like that. And then down the road, and then you guys went to Japan, and then I bought another house that was close. By then, my mom had moved to Grand Junction. I have a sister there as well. So my mom had moved to Grand Junction, and so I wanted to be a little closer to her. So I bought this little house out near my mom, and I had made a fair amount of money on my house, the first house that I bought. So I was able to pick up this other house, and I thought that it would be kind of my forever home. It had a really beautiful yard, and it had all the things that I really loved. And so I didn't know. I knew that you and Erica talked about coming to Florida because her mom and dad were from Florida, that you planned to retire to Florida, but I didn't know like when that was going to be or anything like that. So
yeah,
in the meantime too, I had figured out with my job that even though I had 30 years of work experience, I had all this experience. It didn't do anything for my paycheck in the hospital. I was still a new grad nurse. And so I was at the bottom of the pay scale. And so I went back to school and I got a master's degree in leadership and management first. And then that helped a little bit. And then I was able to kind of get into quality, and I loved the quality. I loved being able to make things better, and I loved that aspect of the hospital stuff. And then there was one more step that I could do, and that was to become an advanced practice nurse. And so that was a postmaster certificate. And so they kept saying in the nursing industry that you were going to have a doctorate to be able to be an advanced practice nurse. Someday you're going to have to be a doctorate. And I couldn't justify, it was another 4 years, and I couldn't justify the time or the expense at my age, right? And so, but it never happened. And so I thought, well, I should just go get the postmasters and get that, and then I can be an advanced practice nurse. And so I did that, and I graduated with that in 2022, I believe. And by that time, my hospital where I was working had merged with a larger hospital system. And so the chief medical officer that I was working under for this quality project that I was in charge of, he left there, and I had never been through a merger before. He clearly had been through a merger before. So he knew that his projects, so he left, and then new people came in, and I couldn't get the new people interested in my project, even though I had all these great outcomes and stuff. And I just felt like I was spinning my wheels. And in the meantime, you and Erica had retired, and I'd been to Guam to see you retire down there. And you came to Florida, to Ocala, and had kind of settled in here. And I was thinking, well, why don't I just go to Florida and be with near the kids? Lincoln was little still. He was pretty little, and Hayden was still in school, and I could spin my wheels down there and be closer to them. And so that's kind of where my head started going. And so you guys moved here and got settled. And then I remember calling you saying I want to have a family meeting because I didn't want to think that I was going to be in the way or anything like that. I didn't know that I was going to get a job. I didn't know that.
No, I remember a couple of things, right? Like, let me just recap how you just blew through that, right? Like, just for everyone's memory, Teri chose at around 49 years old to go to college to become a nurse, right? Which in a lot of spaces, that's good. But then by the time she finishes that journey, she not only goes on to get her master's degree, but then becomes it's an APRN, correct?
Correct. Yeah. There's
I mean, it's
four.
just
There's four advanced practice nurses. There's a nurse practitioner, which is what most people are familiar with. There's a nurse anesthetist. There's a nurse
yeah.
midwife, and there's a clinical nurse specialist. And I'm a clinical nurse specialist.
Just amazing, right? Like just amazing. And of course, I think it's partially, I mean, you're just good at it, right? You get it. You understand the concepts, you catch on to it real quickly. I think you really enjoy the critical thinking parts of it. That's why you love data and making things process outcomes better, right? You like to analyze the things and figure those things out. But I also remember you just being super frustrated by that whole merger and the new people coming in. And you'd had this program you'd essentially built from the ground up that was finding a lot of success for the patients, right? And then it was just super frustrating that this new group of people was not valuing the patient care as much as they could have or should have, right? But unfortunately, sometimes hospitals can seem like just financial organizations and not really they can almost lose that sense of holistic care for the customer, right? And I remember I knew you were upset and I knew you were frustrated. And so and I always had wanted you to come be near us. I remember before my parents passed away, I was always telling them, like, you guys got to move to Florida. You know, it's just going to be easier to help you when you get older if you're closer, right? You just got to move to Florida. And I always wanted you to be able to come to Florida too, but I also was respectful of you'd put so much work into your career, so much time into your education that that's a big ask, right? To ask somebody to relocate and to change again. And when you originally came to Florida, because you did, she ended up coming to Florida, everybody. And I mean, just so y'all know, she literally lives down the street like 5 minutes. like, like my boy, we could walk there in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. So we have the opportunity now to be in each other's lives as much as we choose to, which is as often as we're all working, though we're all busy. But you came here and originally you were going to be retired, but then you got a position. And then as you do, you just kind of worked your way up that food chain to now where you're managing several different laboratories or clinics, I guess you would call them, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so this was another timing thing. So if you think about the timing, so at the time now I'm 60, right? I'm now 10 years past my first, going back to college and stuff. And I'm 60 and I'm thinking, am I going to be able to get a job? There I was able to kind of work my way in, at the very end of my schooling, and I kind of got settled and got established there. But I was really concerned, even though I was a new grad advanced practice nurse, I wasn't sure that anybody would see value to that without any experience. And here I am coming to a new state, a new area. I don't know anybody, I don't know anybody, and I don't know any of the physicians. I don't know any of the nurses. I don't know anything. And so I had applied for this position, and I only wanted to work part-time because I wanted to, the whole point of me coming out here was to spend time with the kids, right? And to be able to help with the kids. And so I didn't want to work full-time. I only wanted to work part-time. So there was a position in the Villages, which is a community right close here to Ocala where we live. And it's a retirement community. And it's a infusion clinic where they do a lot of biological type infusions for people with autoimmune disorders. It's not a wellness. It's not like Myers cocktails or anything like that. It's prescription medication. And we do the infusions. We don't treat cancer patients, but that's what it is. So I had applied for that position before I left Grand Junction. And so I had sold the house. I was staying at my mom's, kind of waiting for the time. You had an airplane ticket. You were going to fly to Denver. I was going to pick you up on the way, and you were going to ride with me down here back to Florida, which is what we did.
Yep.
So I had applied for the position before I left there. My mom ended up in the hospital the night before I left, and she was having a stroke. She had recovered by the time I left. She had got her feeling back and stuff in her arm, and she wanted me to come so badly. She just would not have stood in my way one bit. She just was in tears thinking that I was not going to come, that I was not going to come. And so I talked to the doctor, and I said, well, I'm worried that she's going to have a larger stroke, which is what actually ended up happening. but I would not, there's no way I was going to stay. I knew that it was right for me to come, even though that was happening with her. But she had my sister there. She had a lot of support there. I had another sister in Utah, and she was, she had the help that she needed, which allowed me to come, and be here with you. And so I heard from the company that I had applied for while we were on the road, and they made me an offer, and I signed the contract to work for them. So then I knew I had a job, and I bought this mobile home because it was, this mobile home because I had to have a place to live, and it was
Yeah.
cheap, and I figured I could pay the rent there if I never got a job, if I, just with my savings that I had with my 401k and stuff, that would be okay. I could do that.
Right.
It wasn't my first choice, but I could do it. But then I got this job, and so
Yeah. And it's just been
but
a blessing ever since,
yeah,
right? It's just
yeah,
it's been a blessing ever since.
it has.
And they lived happily ever after, right?
Right. I mean, and the kids grew up, and they were the job was kind of after me to work full time, and I really didn't want to work full time. But then
Yeah.
I came to realize that the company was growing really rapidly, and they were going to hire somebody else full time, which would mean that my position wasn't really going to be needed. And by this time now, Lincoln's kind of going into junior high, and he's going to start getting into all these other activities, and didn't really need me after school as much, as maybe he once
Yeah.
did. So we talked about that too, and then we kind of made the family. We all talked about that and decided I probably should work full time, at least for until I retire. So.
Yeah, I remember those first few years, like you would get Lincoln one day a week from school, and you guys would go out and get
Mhm.
sushi, and that
Yeah,
was really special time, right?
yeah,
But yeah, the boys are getting older. They need us all a little bit less, it feels like.
yeah,
And you
yeah,
just got to figure out the ways that are gonna keep you happy. And I will tell you that I think you'd go stir crazy if you didn't have something to keep your mind busy and occupied. And that's that on, there's an entrepreneur and there's an entrepreneur, and you're like me, I'm interchangeable. I don't really mind working for somebody or working for myself as long as I've got access to feel like what I'm doing matters and it's valued and
yeah,
it's appreciated, and that I can make a contribution, right? Like
right.
I don't have to be the boss. I don't mind. Matter of fact, I don't mind aligning with other people, but then I do, unless it goes against my ethics or something like that, then that would be a
Mhm.
challenge.
Right.
So, but no,
Yeah.
I think definitely is all in God's plan for how it all planned worked out, right?
It couldn't,
And
it was absolutely perfect. And so then I was able, like you said, so now I'm the regional manager I was over 6 clinics, and then we've split the region in half now. So I've got 3 clinics, and
yeah,
it's allowed me to kind of grow my own, I can grow my own teams, and I can hire the people I like, I want to have on my team. And so that's been really a bonus for me too, to spread my wings that way and be able to use my education. I was worried I wouldn't be able to use it. So.
so I guess as we get ready to wrap up today's episode, if you could say something to a mother out there that might be hoping to reconnect with their adopted child that they don't know is out there in the world, what would you say to that person?
I would say to not be afraid, to put it out there. And if it's meant, I have one of my favorite sayings that I use quite a bit is put it out there. If you put it out there, you can work with it. But if you never put it out there, you'll never know. And if the train doesn't stop at your station, it's not your train, And if the time isn't right, then you probably won't be able to find each other. When the time is right, there's nothing that you can do that will stop it.
Yeah.
Because it's just going to come. It's just going to come right to you like a magnet. It'll just come to you when the time is right. But have faith. Don't have faith, and I'd love to just encourage you.
That's it, right? I mean, that's all you can really do. Uh, okay. Well, I don't know. What do you think? Think we're in a good stopping point?
I think so. Yeah.
I think so too. Yeah. Hey, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to our story and our journey and sharing the time with us. This is Gary and Terry. uh, Once again, I love you.
I love you too, honey.
And I'm just thankful that you took the time to come on here and share your journey with everybody. And you're an amazing person. And just hopefully, I know you're going to give a lot of inspiration to people out there. I mean, I think it's just the things that you've done with your life and the things that you've come through. You're definitely an example for a lot of people that want to hopefully get to know better and to follow. You need to write a
Oh,
book. I'm
I
just
hope
saying.
so. The only person I want to inspire is you, though. I just want to
Well,
make you proud.
well, I
Yeah, I
accept
want to
that.
make you
I
proud.
accept that. I'm very proud of you. All right. Well, that's gonna be it for this show. I appreciate you guys. All right. I'll talk to you later. Okay.
Right. Bye.
All right. Bye.